now.
I request the esteemed guests to please come on stage. I request Honorable Justice V. Ramasubramanian sir, please come on stage. Ma'am Lakshmi ma'am and Gujin ma'am. Raman sir, please come on stage. I also request the program director, Dr. Seema Singh, to please come on stage. Thank you.
We are waiting for the chairperson of NCW, Vijaya Kishore ma'am. Will be starting in 2 minutes. Thank you. Good morning, one and all. On behalf of the Campus Law Center, University of Delhi, I warmly welcome you all to Kartavyam, celebrating 75 years of the Indian Constitution. Today, as part of Lecture 11 in this prestigious lecture series, we have the honor of hosting 4 eminent personalities whose contributions to governance, justice, and social welfare have left an indelible mark on our nation. Honorable Justice V. Ramasubramanian Sir, Chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission and former Judge of the Supreme Court of India, a jurist par excellence whose judgments and leadership continue to shape India's constitutional and human rights discourse. IPS Lakshmi Singh Ji, Inspector General of Uttar Pradesh, a fearless officer known for her pioneering initiatives in law enforcement, community policing, and women's safety. IAS Tripti Gurha Ji, Chairperson of National Commission for Protection of Children's Rights, and a committed civil servant working tirelessly to safeguard and promote child rights across India. Srimati Vijaya Kishore Rahatkar Ji, Chairperson of the National Commission for Women, a dynamic leader and social reformer dedicated to advancing women's empowerment and ensuring gender justice. We extend a heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guests and dignitaries who have graced this occasion with their precious presence.
To commence this auspicious occasion, let us invoke the blessing of Goddess Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom, learning, and enlightenment. Following this, we shall present the soulful rendition of the University of Delhi Colgate, a tribute to our shared legacy and pursuit of excellence. May I request our esteemed dignitaries to kindly come forward for the ceremonial lighting of the lamp.
शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः दीपज्योतिर्परब्रह्म दीपज्योतिर्जनार्दनः दीपज्योतिर्परब्रह्म दीपज्योतिर्जनार्दनः दीपो हर्तु मे पापं सन्ध्यादीपनमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
Thank you, everyone. We are privileged to host four eminent personalities whose contributions have significantly impacted their respective fields. I request Professor in Charge, Professor Dr. Gunjan Gupta ma'am, to felicitate Honorable Justice V. Ramasubramanian sir with a token of our appreciation and gratitude.
I'll do this. Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Dr. Seema Singh ma'am to felicitate Lakshmi Singh ma'am with a token of our appreciation and gratitude. Thank you, ma'am. Now to set the tone of today's session, I invite Professor Dr. Gunjan Gupta, Professor in Charge, Campus Law Center, a distinguished academician, researcher, and mentor, whose leadership continues to guide the institution towards academic and professional excellence. May I kindly request her to deliver the welcome address.
A very good morning to all of you. A very good morning to all of you, respected dignitaries, esteemed colleagues, honored guests, and dear students. Mahatma Gandhi once said, if we all discharge our duties, rights will not be far to seek. 75 years of our Constitution is not merely a timeline. It is a testimony of resilience, of rights hard earned, of duties often forgotten, and of a republic that is still being built every single day. As India steps into her 8th decade of freedom, the question before us is whether our Constitution has given us enough, but whether we the people have given enough back to our nation. It is out of this reflection that Kartavyam was born. For rights without duties are like wings without roots, soaring yet unanchored, promising yet fragile. It is with immense pride and gratitude that I welcome you all to the 11th lecture of Kartavyam Constitutional Lecture Series organized by Campus Law Center, University of Delhi. Since its inception, Kartavyam has been graced by the Honorable Vice President of India, judges of the Supreme Court, and many of the nation's most eminent legal luminaries. Each lecture has carried forward the national dialogue on rights, responsibilities, and the moral foundations of our republic. This series was never conceived as a mere ritual or an academic formality. It was envisioned as a living dialogue, an intellectual pilgrimage where we do not just study the Constitution, but strive to reawaken its conscience. For too long, our national discourse has titled towards rights alone. Yet, as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar warned us, the preservation of democracy lies not merely in the form of the government, but in the habits of the people. And those habits are nothing but our duties. In this spirit, and it is my proud privilege to welcome 4 distinguished guests who embody the soul of Kartavyam in their life and service. I really take pride in welcoming our chief guest for today, Honorable Justice V. Ramasubramanian, Chairperson of National Human Rights Commission, whose life's work reminds us that rights are hollow if they are not sustained by duties of justice and conscience. I welcome you, sir. I would also welcome Shrimati Vijaya Kishore Rahatkar, Chairperson of National Commission for Women, who has shown us that the empowerment of women is not merely a right to be claimed, but a duty to be fulfilled by whole of society. Welcome, madam. I also welcome IPS Lakshmi Singh, Inspector General of Uttar Pradesh, whose fearless service illustrates that law is not power, but responsibility, not command, but commitment to the people. Welcome, madam. We would shortly be joined by IAS Tripti Gurha, Chairperson of the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, whose leadership embodies the call that to serve children is to serve the nation's tomorrow. She'll be shortly joining us. Distinguished guests, your presence has transformed this hall into more than an auditorium. It becomes a forum of conscience where experience meets conviction and service meets reflection. And as our slogan goes, we first come forward to perform our duty, then we exhort and assist you to perform your duty, and when all of us together we witness the miracle of oneness as our duty. So let us not leave today with applause alone, but with the resolution that let us not carry words alone, but action. Let us not ask, what are my rights, until we have answered, have I fulfilled my duty? That is the message, Kartavyam, friends. My duty, your duty, our duty. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for a wonderful welcome address. We have our today's guest, Srimati Vijaya Kishore Rahatkar, ma'am, I request Dr. Raman Mittal sir to felicitate her with a token of her appreciation and gratitude.
Thank you, ma'am. The vision of Kartavyam is deeply rooted in the constitutional ethos to remind us that with rights come responsibilities and with freedom comes duty. Every great initiative requires great partnership. Our knowledge partner, Knowledge Collective, has been working tirelessly in the domain of policy advocacy, research, and legal literacy. To elaborate on the philosophy and objective of this lecture series, I invite Dr. Seema Singh Ma'am, Program Director, Campus Law Center, whose tireless effort has been instrumental in conceptualizing and curating this initiative. Ma'am, please enlighten us.
Thank you so much. And first of all, I am extremely thankful to Justice Ramasubramanian sir, Chairman NHRC, Vijaya Rahatkar ma'am, Chairperson NCW, and Lakshmi Singh madam, IG Uttar Pradesh. Once we decided that we have to celebrate 75 years of the Indian Constitution, then one thing which was running in our mind was, what should be the theme of the program? When we decided to put the name Kartavyam, many people asked us, even you all are aware, sir, I just wanted to inform you that very recently this Kartavyam was discussed in Parliament also. And one question was asked to the Government of India, are you seriously thinking about the Kartavya jurisprudence to make it mandatory? So that is a good and great achievement of all of us. It is our collective effort. Once we were conceptualizing this idea of Kartavyam, so there is a discussion whether there is any connection between the Constitution and the Kartavya. So I just want to keep myself in very brief. But if we try to understand or unfold the meaning of the preamble of the Indian Constitution, it itself reflects that the Constitution is Kartavya-centric. So what is our Kartavya? Kartavya means it is not necessary that there should be some statutory force or backing. Kartavya means something which should be naturally taken over by us as our responsibility. तो पहला कर्तव्य, as per the preamble, to know, हम भारत के लोग. तो पहले तो ये जानने का मतलब हमारे लिए सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है कि हम मतलब कौन, हम कौन हैं. How we think, why as a human being we are different from others, and what are our natural assigned duties. The second important kartavya is to know about Bharat, whether it is only a territorial boundary or this is something beyond that. Bharat hai kya? Because once it is said that this is the most ancient civilization, you must be aware that what is the meaning of Bharat. Then the next important thing, our duty is to know what is the meaning of sovereignty. Is it only in terms of territorial sovereignty, तो हमें सिर्फ अपने borders को protect करना है, or it is our responsibility to protect our cultural sovereignty, ecological sovereignty, spiritual sovereignty, and political and cultural history also. The next important kartavya which is prescribed in the preamble of the Indian Constitution is to understand our duty to implement the concept of equality in the society. संविधान में equality लिखने से equality नहीं आती है. It is a feeling, it is a sense, it has some emotions. So our duty is to understand what is the meaning of fraternity. फ्रेटर्निटी को अगर हम नहीं समझेंगे, फ्रेटर्निटी के प्रति अपने कर्तव्य को नहीं समझेंगे, then we can never achieve the target of equality, liberty and justice. क्योंकि जिसके प्रति आपके अंदर अपनेपन का भाव होता है ना, उसको आप कभी भी अनइक्वल नहीं मानते, उसके राइट को कभी भी आप वायलेट नहीं करते, और वो अपनी लिबर्टी की लिमिट खुद जानता है कि उसको क्या नहीं करना जिससे दूसरे को तकलीफ हो. So this is the beauty of our preamble. If we are able to understand each and every word, in respect of the jurisprudence of Kartavya, then only we can understand our constitution in true sense. So this is the fundamental purpose behind initiating this constitutional law lecture series, and we decided to keep the name Kartavyam. So this is all about Kartavyam, and today I am very honored that three distinguished guests are here, and definitely they are going to discuss our roles regarding the protection of human rights, child rights, and law and order. And here I also want to thank our knowledge partner, Knowledge Collective. Knowledge Collective is an organization which is a group of renowned advocates and renowned judges and academicians, and they are working in the field of legal academia. They are our knowledge partner, and they are providing us all sorts of support. They are working in 22 states, so they are a strong backing, strong support for all of us. So without making further delay, I extend my thanks to all of you, और मेरी आप लोगों से request है कि this series is just a first step. इसको अभी हमें बहुत आगे ले जाना है, और अगर हम इस पर 3-4 साल काम करेंगे, then we will be actually able to establish Kartavya jurisprudence as a new school of thought. So with this, now I close my words, and thanks to all of you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for enlightening us about Kartavyam. Our first distinguished speaker is IPS Lakshmi Singh Ji, Inspector General of Uttar Pradesh. She is the first woman officer to be appointed Police Commissioner in Uttar Pradesh. She is the first woman officer to. She is also known as, often referred as Lady Singham. She is an officer known for her fearless leadership, uncompromising integrity, and people-centric policing. Her career is marked by several landmark initiatives in strengthening law and order, ensuring women's safety, and adopting innovative policing measures. Her presence here is indeed a source of inspiration for every student of law and governance. I now invite IPS Lakshmi Singh Ji to kindly address the gathering. I want to say that once again, as our ma'am Dr. Seema Singh said, our guest today is also known as Lady Singham and is known for her fearless leadership.
As you can see, I've been fortunate enough to have a very short height, and no matter how much people may try to pull my leg, I'm still very blessed with my height. So, Lady Singham is a misnomer. Let me clarify at the outset. I still prefer to go by the name of Lakshmi Singh. At the start, 11th lecture in this Kartavyam series hosted by the CLC. Honorable Justice V. Subramaniam, sir, Chairman, National Human Rights Commission. Mrs. Rahatkar, Chairman, National Commission for Women. Professor Gupta, Teacher, Professor in charge of the CLC August campus. Dr. Seema Singh. All of the greatest, intelligent, and sharpest minds of the country sitting on the dais and off the dais. My standing over here today to speak in this August gathering in an institution bearing the legacy of 100 years now, I feel is an anomaly in itself. Why? Because being surrounded by intelligent minds, you are asking a police wala to speak. We have been told, or it has been perceived in the society, that a police wala can be seen. Of course, it must be seen, he must be seen, but never be heard. Number one. Number two, the limbs can speak, The mind can speak, but the tongue can never speak. This is the legacy of the law which has been handed down to us since 1850s and 1860s. People used to call the law a draconian law, bearing the legacy of colonial days. And thanks to some changes brought in about the new Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita levied last year, we have been given some rights too. If I have to speak about the Kartavyam series, let me just see that how does one define duty, Kartavyam and law. First, I'll go to law. If you go by the name of law, what is its origin? Can anybody say? The word law has originated from the Old Norse word log. Things laid down or fixed in an order. That is what law is. And over here, law is vidhi. Law is not something which has been ordained or laid down in an order. It is something which has to be followed. प्रक्रिया, किसी कार्य करने का ऐसा तरीका जिसे करना अनिवार्य हो. Two things are very important. Tarika and anivarya. And that is the genesis of the preamble of Indian Constitution, which sets the tone and tenor of what we as a citizen are determined and ordained to do. And that is the basic difference in the Western philosophy and our own Indian philosophy, which took birth long ago. And I will just very shortly refer to that kind of philosophy, and you will see why we need to have a certain set of duties too. The word kartavyam originates from the Sanskrit kri dhatu, karna, with tavyat pratyay. I'm sorry, vidiling. I'm going back to my whatever Sanskrit I have learned during my school days. वो जो करना चाहिए, कर्तव्य का अर्थ है जो करना चाहिए या जो करने योग्य हो, चाहिए. इंग्लिश में होता है shall do, ought to do. There is a huge difference of a world, time, space between what ought to be done, what shall do is, and what will do, what I am doing, what is to be done. There's a huge difference therein. I will come back to this shall do again because this is very relevant and it pertains to the demand of an emerging, fast-paced society, so seeped in their own knowledge and belief that they are just refusing to see otherwise. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Karmarni Kartavya, breaks down to that fulfilling of one's dharma that has been laid down as a tradition of the way of living. Our dharma was never bound down by a scripture. Our dharma, the way to righteousness, was never etched into a stone. If you see what exactly it connotes, the connotation of dharma are the delegation and responsibility, the moral and social expectations, and of course, we hear of kartavyam, you hear of kartavya in yoga, Hat Dharma, Kaumudi also, this has been defined. It has been defined into Buddhist Mahayana Parampara traditions. It has been defined into Vedanta Dharma Shastra and Ashtavakra Sanhita, Gita. It has also been defined into Jain Dharma Sanhita. I will be quoting Tessitori, who brought to light these Jain Dharma Sanhitas to the world during the 1940s and 1920s. During his Rajasthan tour. However, Oxford English Dictionary just defines duty as a moral and legal obligation that is one's part of one's job. Now, my question is, what is considered to be the part of one's job? So Western philosophy is a contractual society, and I will come it again. हमारे civilization में what it is something which is assimilated into your way of living. भारतीय परंपरा की जो आत्मसात करने की कैपेसिटी है, the capacity to assimilate foreign influences, things that can be picked up and learned from all parts of the world, global civilizations, and that can be incorporated into your own way of living. That is what defines what set of duties can be handed down to the modern ages. And this is what has made us a civilization living from 5,000 years ago. World's first written constitution, as I will like to say, was considered to be the Hammurabi's Code of Conduct, way back, 1750s before Christ. And what does Hammurabi Code of Conduct say? It defines all kind of crimes which can happen in a society, and it defines what penal provisions can be done. The epilogue has 290 lines running into what havoc will be brought down upon man if he violates that Code of Hammurabi. There has been debates about the Code of Hammurabi, whether it is a set of laws. I believe it is a set of jurisprudence, how justice can be formulated and delivered. Since Hammurabi's Code of Conduct till the modern era, many constitutions have been formulated into the Western Hemisphere, but none, and I repeat, none has ever mentioned of any type of duties or civil obligations towards the society etched into their constitution. It is only constitutions arising out of old ancient civilizations that a concept of duty has been engraved. Japan's constitution was the first modern constitution of a free world, democratic world, that laid down the duties of citizen. We have derived our own entire chapter 51A, which has been inspired by the Russian constitution. However, there is a whole difference between the Japanese obligation set of duties and the Indian set of duties. Japanese set of duties etched into their articles 26 to 50 can be enforced by law. Our set of duties, the fundamental duties, are only obligations which are considered to be carried out by the citizens of their own free, sweet will. Why was the need of incorporating a set of charter of duties for the citizens to be emulated and followed, but never to be enforced? Why? Because in our school of thought, in our ancient traditions handed down over generations and generations, was a belief that we have been taught to live in a certain way of living. We have been taught to think in a certain way of thinking. Thought processes have been amalgamated as a part of our day-to-day life, and therefore what has to come from within cannot be enforced from without. जो अंदर से उत्पन्न हो उसे लॉ के द्वारा कैसे बांधा जा सकता है? Because unfortunately at that time all kind of Indian jurisprudence was in practice was considered to be of negative origin. We negated. This is considered to be a crime, and if you commit a crime, this is the punishment which will called for, and these are the penal sections. तो लॉ ने हमें सिखाया आपको चोरी नहीं करना है. If you commit theft, then you will be liable to be punished under so and so sections. लॉ ने आपको ये क्यों नहीं सिखाया कि चोरी करना पाप है? क्योंकि आपके धर्म ने बोला कि जो आपके लिए अग्राह्य हो. हमारा वेदांग की फिलॉसफी यही बोलती है, जो आपके लिए अग्राह्य हो, अपरिग्रह हो, अनटचेबल हो, उसे छूना ही नहीं चाहिए. जिसे छूना नहीं चाहिए वो हमारी ड्यूटी हो जाती है. इसीलिए इनिशियल ईयर्स ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में देयर वाज नेवर कंसिडर्ड टू बी अ नीड टू रेंडर सोशल एंड मॉरल ओब्लिगेशंस टू बी कोडेड डाउन एज एन एनफोर्स्ड ड्यूटीज चार्टर्स. However, times have changed. We are a generation born in a free-spirited world. We are a generation, and especially you are a generation, which has been born with a golden developing country handed over a platter. So you and I, we have never known what it is to be struggling for a freedom. You and I have never known what it is to struggle for the rights to be enforced. So the entire world today is clamoring for the rights to be enforced without thinking what should be the boundaries of those rights. And once the boundaries are achieved, what happens next? If you ask me, I will like to quote T.S. Eliot here now. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. So here again I shall come to shall do. What is this concept of shall do? Bible may Matthew, the book of Matthew defines in chapter 7:12. Shall do. Thou shalt not do to a human what is not appropriate for you to be done unto you. It's a whole encompassing line. What I'm trying to say, no religion of the world, no religious and legal scripture of the world, no constitution of the world betrays the traditional and well-recognized human values, human ethics, and human etiquettes. Ethics is what our moral compass guides us to, and etiquettes are what our social training guides us to. There's a difference between the two. Your social training may be of diverse background, but your moral etiquette and sets of etiquette cannot be so diverse. And therein lies the beauty of the Constitution of India. We were given the right of equality right from the start, the birth of the Constitution. Western civilization had to fight. You must have heard of the suffragette movement. You must have heard of the civil liberties movement of the free Americas. 200 years after they became free, they had the moral courage to stand up and give the right of equality to half their population. आधी आबादी को उसका हक देने में मॉरल एंड फ्री अमेरिकाज को 200 साल लगे थे. एंशंट काल से अपने को सबसे ज़्यादा सिविलाइज्ड वर्ल्ड समझने वाले द ग्रेट ब्रिटेन को आधी आबादी को 1967 में जाके उसका हक मिला था. The day we were born, we were a nascent nation, but we were an equal nation. There was no differentiation based on our birth, on our caste, on our creed, on our educational profile, or on our gender. That is the strength of Indian Constitution. And that is why we are standing here to now discuss. We have enjoyed the world of rights for 75 years. Let us start discussing about our duties, about our kartavya, what should be borne by this generation and the next one. Shall do. French philosopher Rousseau has said, all Western constitutions are bound by the philosophy of Rousseau, the theory of social contract. It is all a social contract in their world. Individuals give up some natural freedom to live under a government that embodies the collective interests of the free society, which becomes the basis for a man's duty to the state and to their brethren. Sartre says existence precedes essence. So naturally you need to have some kind of existence of certain laws to have their essence filled. John Stuart Mill says duty is what should be seen through the lens of maximizing happiness and minimizing suffering. All are pointing to what? Natural moral compass, natural moral etiquettes which define what a civilized society is. It's never laid down what is ordained as per a given law. Therefore, I believe wisdom defines the limits of one's knowledge. Responsibility pushes one beyond those limits. And I have been trying throughout my life to push myself out towards that boundary and attain what simply appears to be impossible for the other co-colleagues. shall do. Character is not something profound which can be ascertained but what you like to do. I say what you don't like to do. That is what your moral compass is now pointing towards. What you don't like to do has to be something, thank you, has to be something which will be of highest order, of righteousness, and therefore you should strive to do that very well. Shall strive. If you go through Article 51A, all duties have something. You shall do. Every citizen shall do. Every citizen shall do. What is this shall do? Is it something which can be defined? Is it something which can be laid down? We already have a Charter of Duties. Now the plea is to enforce it. Of course, the last one added through the recent amendment has already been made into the will and dictates of the government, acquiring and dispersing the right of education to everyone. So how do we make Kartavyam as a part of our life? Now I'll come to that. Mark Twain says, again I'm quoting various and random thinkers. Why? Because if I go on about what the political and police thinking are, you will be bored. I'll come to my police thinking also in a very short while. Mark Twain says, do something every day which you don't like to do, and then it will be inculcated into your habit of thinking and living every day. How do you inculcate a duty? How do you inculcate a habit? The only moral compass can be what we are thinking in our hearts. And when the mind and the heart is on the same page, that is what is your kartavyam. No one can dictate you to do a certain set of kartavyam. The day it is dictated, it becomes boring. The day it is enforced through a code of law, violations become everyday norm. कुछ तो मजे के लिए ही वायलेट करने लगेंगे और कुछ सोचेंगे कि देखते हैं कि पुलिस पहुंच पाएगी कि नहीं पहुंच पाएगी. But I am telling you, after 75 years of an Indian independent India, भारत, पुलिस हर जगह पहुंचती है. So never be under the delusion that whatever you do, पुलिस पहुंचेगी नहीं. Contrary to all Bollywood propaganda, we do reach at time. And I am the working living example of that. When I had joined as police commissioner in Noida, our response time was over 15 minutes on a distress call. And now I have brought it down to under 4 minutes. So within 3 minutes and 12 seconds, the first responder will be reaching you at your distress site. That is my kartavyam. So how do I embody my kartavyam? I am a citizen-centric service. I am responsible and held accountable to my services rendered unto the citizens of this India. So, citizens' grievance redressal should be the topmost priority. Reaching out to them at the time of distress should be my kartavyam, and delivering services within the time frame to their final culmination should be my duty. In the integrated grievance redressal system, levied all over the state of UP, when I had joined, sir, Noida was ranking 72nd amongst 75 districts. Now, for the last 1.5 years, it has ranked 1. So, 100% resolution of all kind of public grievances is being handled by the same force, which is perceived to be born out of apathy and indifference. Now we are a force which are making a difference. Now we are a force who are reaching out and sharing a helping hand. That is what I think my kartavyam is. So the day my heart and mind comes on the same page and tells me what is good for me should be good for all citizens, and I make up my mind to get that thing done, that means I am already trying to hold out to my duties and getting it enforced. Had I been lamenting about the loss of rights given to police forces, I would have been struck in a quagmire. दलदल से निकलना आसान नहीं होता है. Self pity का दलदल तो भगवान बचाए. If you are seeped into that self-pity, the vicious cycle of self-pity, you cannot move out of that space, the space in your mind. Why I'm telling you this? Because if duties are to be enforced by the Constitution of India, the right kind of ambience, the right kind of will to accept, and the right kind of embodiment of that spirit has to exist amongst the citizens to welcome that enforcement of duties. Otherwise, it will become a love of labor. मेहनत करते गए ड्यूटी 40% हुई. आज की generation talks in percentages. You know the kind of mileage I can gain about after going through constitutional duty number 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It is only 40% profit for me. So if that will to accept your duty as part of your life does not exist, the enforcement of preamble of duties, charter of duties by the Constitution will only be subjugated to a percentage calculation. It will come. The percentage can always increase. However, what's the use of increasing the percentage if the will is not primary? That cause which is born out of a secondary will does not have the chances to succeed. So the primary will has to come from you. Why you? Because you are the legal luminaries that are going to guide this country, this Bharat, to an embodiment of a full constitutional civilized society in near future. So your will is paramount. Your voice is paramount. And if there is even a single dissent in that voice, I think the purpose is lost. And therefore, when we are talking about the embodiment of Kartavyam, where do we stand vis-a-vis the right of Charter of Rights and the Charter of Duties? We have to think twice. What do we have to do? Sir, we are an ISO 9001 certified commissionerate, the only one of a kind in entire India. And 8 police stations of mine are ISO certified. When I had gone for certification from an international auditor, my own superior bosses told me, what's the use of doing this? I said, how do you imbibe a bill, generate a will to succeed, and bring it into a system that is prone to default? The system crashes anytime. When we had joined the services, we were told, ye hai, chalta rahega. Don't do anything to displace or speeden up the speed of this cart. Today we are a roaring Lamborghini. We are a roaring Ferrari. We are never a cart today. So now my question is, if this is what is important, and why the enforcement of duties is important. If a system has to survive, not because of an individual wills, but because of a collective will to survive, the system has to become an indigenous, self-working, self-surviving system. I may not be there after 10 or 12 years, but if the system for a perfect rendering of duties towards the citizens exists, the system will run on its own. And I'm telling you, bureaucratic systems, they are blessed with a long life of battery. They keep on running. After all, they have been running in some or the other form for the last 75 years. The only thing is, you have to have that will to give that system a boost of a new shelf life for the battery. And that is where this ISO 9000 certification came in handy. All our services to citizens are now standardized according to the international standards. All our working modules are now standardized according to the time frame of standard international acceptable time frames. We are rendering services to the citizens of UP and Noida particularly within a stipulated time frame. तो अब पुलिस वाले से अगर आप पूछेंगे कि अगर कॉल आई तो जाना है कि नहीं जाना है, 2 years before he might have said, the commissioner is going to punish me, so today I have to go. Today he takes pride in being an ISO certified commissionerate and says, this is my duty to reach the spot. So now we have also ordained the duty of a policeman and enshrined it, imbibed it into his own free will. Free will is very important. After all, we are living in a free world. If it does not arise from a free will, it can never be a continuous process. So I will now, we are here to listen to Honorable Justice Subramaniam sir. It is always a pleasure to listen to him. So now I will try to cut short. I had come, all these things I had thought in the morning. Till yesterday I could not think about anything. So today now I'll end with just one thing. अपने कर्तव्य की परिभाषा खुद गढ़िए. Not what has been ordained through a laid law, laid by the citizens or policy or lawmakers. Remember, whatever you stand set apart for yourself as a charter of duties, it cannot be for a day or two. If it is for a day or two, it is just a whim of your mind. It has to be a continuous process. And the Constitution gives us a choice. Why not make it as something that can be enforced out of our own sweet will? So now, at this golden age, golden hour of Indian Constitution, having the 75th year of its laying down, I will say, Kartavyam is something which comes from inside a human mind, जो अंदर से आए और शाश्वत बन जाए. हमारे सिविलाइजेशन की तरह बहुत सारे सिविलाइजेशंस आए और गए. यूनान और मिस्र और हुमा सब मिट गए जहाँ से, बाकी मगर है अब तक नामो निशान हमारा. कुछ बात है ऐसी कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी, सदियों रहा है दुश्मन दौरे जहाँ हमारा. We are a civilization which has survived continuous onslaughts, continuous degrading marauders, and still held our head high. We are a civilization which is only the living civilization from 5,000 years of handed down traditions from one generation to another. So our set and charters of duties cannot be one single thing which can be embodied by the Constitution or laid down by the man. It has been ordained by some power which is supernatural to human existence. इसलिए आत्मसात करिए. भारत में आत्मसात करने की परंपरा बहुत प्राचीन और बहुत मजबूत है. The day you start assimilating your thought processes into your living existence, your life will become an embodiment of duty. Thank you. Shall do, will do से shall do पर आइए. Shall do बहुत लंबा आपको लेकर जाएगा. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your insight. It is truly a privilege to have you here. Our next esteemed speaker is Srimati Vijaya Kishore Rahatkarji, Chairperson, National Commission for Women, a dynamic leader, parliamentarian, and social activist. She has been at the forefront of initiatives for women's empowerment, gender justice, and political participation of women. As the chairperson of NCW, she has been instrumental in addressing pressing issues of women's rights, safety, and representation across India. Her work has set new benchmark for inclusive governance and gender-sensitive policy making. We are deeply honored to hear her valuable insight. Ma'am, the stage is yours.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मुझे यहाँ बुलाने के लिए. मंच पर उपस्थित सम्माननीय गणमान्य न्यायमूर्ति वी रामसुब्रमण्यम जी, अध्यक्ष राष्ट्रीय मानवाधिकार आयोग, IPS लक्ष्मी सिंह जी, महानिरीक्षक उत्तर प्रदेश, उन्हीं के साथ साथ इस मंच पर उपस्थित डॉक्टर गुंजन गुप्ता जी, डॉक्टर सीमा सिंह जी, रमन मित्तल जी और इस हॉल में उपस्थित सभी सम्माननीय अतिथिगण, प्रोफेसर और मेरे प्रिय मित्रों, आज मुझे बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, बहुत खुशी है कि भारत का जो ऊर्जावान भविष्य है, जो युवा है, उनको आज मैं यहाँ पे मिल रही हूँ। आपको मिलकर मुझे बहुत बहुत खुशी हुई है। आज के लिए हमारे लिए एक ये क्षण है कि जब हम रुके, चिंतन करें, दुनिया के सबसे बड़े लोकतंत्र के नागरिक होने के अर्थ को समझने के लिए अपनी समझ को हम पुनः परखें। मुझे लगता है कि इसीलिए आज का इस कार्यक्रम का आयोजन किया गया है। जैसे कि महात्मा गांधी जी ने हमें याद दिलाया था कि यदि हम सभी अपने कर्तव्य का निर्वहन करते हैं तो अधिकारों की तलाश दूर नहीं रहेगी। मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि कर्तव्यम एक ऐसा शब्द है, यह केवल कानूनी अवधारणा नहीं है, अपितु यह एक नैतिक अनिवार्यता है तथा मार्गदर्शक प्रकाश है। और मेरे विचार से यह एक आधार है कि जहाँ पर अधिकारों और स्वतंत्रता की इमारत मजबूती के साथ खड़ी हो सकती है। मैं आज आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करना चाहती हूँ, अभिनंदन करना चाहती हूँ कि आज आपने सभी को अपने कर्तव्यों का भी याद दिला दिया। नहीं तो कितनी बार तो हम बात करते हैं अपने अधिकारों की, वो होनी भी चाहिए, पर अधिकारों के साथ साथ जब बात होती है तो कर्तव्य के बारे में हम बहुत भूल जाते हैं। तब हमें कितनी बार ये याद नहीं आता है कि हाँ, हमारे भी कुछ कर्तव्य है जिसको लेकर हमने आगे बढ़ना चाहिए। तो इसको याद देने के लिए, इसको परखने के लिए और सही मायने में हमारा जो भविष्य है, जो युवा है, उनको काफ़ी अच्छे तरीके से आगे बढ़ाने के लिए आज की ये लेक्चर सीरीज़ है। मैं उसके लिए आपका बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन करती हूँ। मुझे ये भी हमेशा लगता है कि हमारा कर्तव्य और हमारा अधिकार, इसके बीच में बहुत अच्छे तरीके से संतुलन भी होना चाहिए। जैसे हम भारत के लोग के लिए अधिकारों का एक अभूतपूर्व चार्टर भाग 3 में वर्णित किया गया है, जो कि मौलिक अधिकारों का है। सामाजिक परिवर्तन के हमारे सबसे बड़े साधन अस्पृश्यता को समाप्त करने से लेकर लैंगिक समानता को आगे बढ़ाने तक के हैं और हमें सभी को इन सभी को ध्यान में रखते हुए आगे चल के काम भी करना है। और मुझे ये भी लगता है कि जिम्मेदारी के बिना स्वतंत्रता असंतुलन का बहुत बड़ा कारण भी बन सकती है। डॉक्टर BR अम्बेडकर जी ने हमें चेतावनी दी थी कि अगर राजनीतिक लोकतंत्र तब तक कायम नहीं रहता है जब तक कि सामाजिक लोकतंत्र की नींव पर न खड़ा हो। यह स्वतंत्रता, समानता, बंधुत्व पर आधारित एक जीवन शैली हो सकती है, जिस जीवन शैली को हमने अपनाना चाहिए। और इसीलिए मुझे यह भी लगता है कि कर्तव्य के बिना अधिकार एक सिक्के के समान है, जिसका केवल एक पहल है कि यह अपना मूल्य खो देता है। कर्तव्य के बिना अधिकार एक ही पंख वाले पक्षी के समान है जो उड़ान ही नहीं भर सकता। इसीलिए कर्तव्य और अधिकार साथ साथ चलने की बहुत ज़्यादा हमें ज़रूरत भी लगती है। हम जब संवैधानिक कर्तव्यों की बात करते हैं तो प्राचीन मूल और आधुनिकता का एक बहुत अच्छा संगम हम देख सकते हैं। न्याय सूत्र में ये कहा गया था कि कर्तव्यानां सम्यक पालनम राज्यं वर्धते, यानी कि एक राष्ट्र तब फलता है, फूलता है जब उसके नागरिक दृढ़तापूर्वक अपने कर्तव्यों का पालन करते हैं। ये हम आज नहीं कह रहे हैं, सालों साल की हमारी जो न्याय व्यवस्था थी उसमें कहा गया था। हमारा संविधान तो सम्राट अशोक के जो शिलालेख है वहाँ से लेकर भगवत गीता के उपदेशों तक इन विरासतों को बहुत अच्छे तरीके से प्रतिबिंबित भी करता है। कर्तव्यों को हमेशा समाज को एक सूत्र में पिरोने वाला आज हम सूत्र मानकर आगे बढ़ रहे हैं और अधिकारों के साथ कर्तव्यों को भी हम बढ़ा रहे हैं। मैं ये ज़रूर कहूँगी कि सबसे बड़ी बात है जो मुझे बहुत प्रभावित करती है, तो वो कौन सी है? तो ये बात मुझे प्रभावित करती है कि कर्तव्य अमूर्त न होकर कर्तव्य व्यावहारिक बने। रोज के आपके जीवन में उसको दिखाई देना, वो देखना, लोगों ने उसको समझना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरतमंद है। यह कर्तव्य कार्रवाई के वह आह्वान है जिनका पालन करने पर हमारी कुछ सबसे गंभीर राष्ट्रीय चुनौतियाँ जैसे सांप्रदायिक सद्भाव है, पर्यावरण क्षरण है, लैंगिक अन्याय है, भ्रष्टाचार है और नागरिक अनुशासन में गिरावट का बहुत बड़ा समाधान हमें इससे मिल सकता है। और इसीलिए हमने अपने कर्तव्य का पालन बहुत अच्छे तरीके से करना चाहिए। राष्ट्रीय महिला आयोग की अध्यक्ष होने के नाते तो मैं ये ज़रूर कहूँगी कि कर्तव्य और जेंडर न्याय भी बहुत अच्छे तरीके से आगे चलना चाहिए। आधी आबादी की जब हम बात करते हैं तो मुझे हमेशा ये लगता है कि कर्तव्यों पर यह जो चर्चा चल रही है ये महिलाओं के अधिकारों के साथ, उनके समानता के साथ, उनके रक्षा के साथ, उनके सक्षमता के साथ वो कैसी जुड़ सकती है, हमें इसका भी बहुत ज़्यादा ख्याल रखने की ज़रूरत मुझे लगती है। समानता के लिए संघर्ष केवल एक कानूनी लड़ाई नहीं है, बल्कि वो एक सांस्कृतिक लड़ाई भी है। मैं ये भी कहूँगी कि यदि समाज महिलाओं को सम्मान करने के अपने कर्तव्य को आत्मसात नहीं कर लेता है तो कोई भी कानून महिलाओं की रक्षा नहीं कर सकता। कानून हमारे मदद के लिए है, पर समाज के मन में ये भाव होना चाहिए कि मैं सामने वाले का सम्मान करूं, उनकी मैं रक्षा करूं, उनके गरिमा का मैं ध्यान रखूं। जब तक ये समाज नहीं चाहता है तब तक हम कितनी भी बात करें कानूनों की, अगर हम ही नहीं चाहते, हमारा मन नहीं चाहता है तो कानून क्या करेगा? तो सबसे पहले समाज मन ने ये बहुत समझ कर लेने की ज़रूरत है, इस कर्तव्य को समझने की ज़रूरत है कि हमें महिलाओं का सम्मान करना है, उनको साथ साथ हाथ पकड़ के उनको आगे बढ़ावा देना है ताकि वो बराबरी के साथ काम भी करें। इसलिए मुझे ये लगता है कि हमने बहुत अच्छी तरीके से महिलाओं के सम्मान के लिए भी काम करने की ज़रूरत है। जब तक राष्ट्रीय महिला आयोग की बात आती है तो राष्ट्रीय महिला आयोग अपने कर्तव्यों के लिए बहुत कुछ प्रयास कर रहा है। आज हमारे पास लाखों की संख्या में केसेस आती है और हम रोज प्रयास करते हैं कि उन सभी केसेस को हम सॉल्व करें, उन महिलाओं के साथ हम न्याय करें। जब कमीशन की अध्यक्षा बनने के बाद मैंने देखा कि इतनी बड़ी संख्या में यहाँ पे केसेस आ रही है और वो सभी बहनें हमारे तक नहीं पहुँच पाती है। कहाँ तमिलनाडु से कोई एक छोटे ज़िले से हमारे पास कंप्लेंट है, तो कहाँ लद्दाख से है, तो कहाँ इसी के साथ साथ नॉर्थ ईस्ट से है, और ये सभी बहनें दिल्ली तक हमारे तक नहीं आ पाती है। तो हमने ये समझा कि ये हमारा कर्तव्य है कि उन बहनों की तरफ हम खुद ही जाए, और हमने खुद उनके पास जाने का फैसला किया। और राष्ट्रीय महिला आयोग आपके द्वार नाम का एक जनसुनवाई का आयोजन शुरू हो गया है और मुझे ये कहते हुए बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है कि हमने ये आयोजन केवल प्रदेशों की राजधानी में जाने तक सीमित नहीं रखा। हमने इस आयोजनों को प्रदेश के जो संभागीय स्तर है, डिविजनल लेवल जो है, वहाँ तक जाकर हम इसकी जन सुनवाई करते हैं। और उत्तर प्रदेश जैसे बड़े शहर जहाँ पे केवल एक जिले में बहुत बड़े कंप्लेंट्स है, हम तो केवल जिले में जाके हम सुनवाई करके आते हैं। मुझे ये कहते हुए बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है कि गत 3.5 महीने में हमने 75 से भी ज़्यादा जन सुनवाई राष्ट्रीय महिला आयोग कर चुका है, यानी कि हमने लगभग हर 1.5 दिन में एक जन सुनवाई, जिस जन सुनवाई में कम से कम 100, 150, 200 केसेस आती है, उसको सॉल्व करने में हम सफल रहे हैं। पर प्रयासों को जारी रखना बहुत ज़रूरी है, हम वो कर रहे हैं। जैसे हमने महिलाओं की बात करी, जो पीड़ित महिलाएं हैं, उन्हीं के साथ साथ मैं बात करूंगी मेरी युवा पीढ़ी की, मेरे सभी दोस्तों की, जो प्रिय है, जो भारत का भविष्य है, क्योंकि भारत अभी विश्व का सबसे ज़्यादा यंग देश बनने जा रहा है। 2036 में हमारा पिक आएगा और इन्हीं आपके हाथों में, इस देश की डोर आपके हाथों में है कि भारत का भविष्य हमें कितनी अच्छी दिशा में लिखना है, ये केवल और केवल आप तय कर सकते हैं। ये हमारी नई पीढ़ी ये अगर कानूनों को नहीं समझती है तो कैसे चलेगा। इसीलिए हमने विश्वविद्यालय और कॉलेजेस के लिए एक बहुत अच्छा कार्यक्रम हम करते हैं जिसका नाम है कैंपस कॉलिंग। और कैंपस कॉलिंग के लिए हमने इस साल में हमने तय किया है कि हम कम से कम 1000 कार्यक्रम हम इसी साल में कैंपस कॉलिंग के करेंगे, यानी कि रोज हम कम से कम 3 कार्यक्रम करेंगे। उस दिशा में हम चल पड़े हैं। हमारे अभी कार्यक्रम नए हैं, शुरू हो गए, कम से कम 25-30 तो कार्यक्रम हो चुके हैं इसी महीने में। कैंपस कॉलिंग में हम जाते हैं विश्वविद्यालयों में, कॉलेज में, और आज हम देख रहे हैं कि आज बहुत ज़्यादा साइबर क्राइम्स हो रहे हैं। पॉक्सो की केसेस बहुत ज़्यादा आ रही है। पॉश के बारे में, जो सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट एट वर्क प्लेस है, इसके बारे में अवेयरनेस नहीं है और कितने बार केवल जानकारी नहीं है, इसीलिए हमारा युवा इन चीज़ों में फंस जाता है। कानून को अगर वो अच्छे तरीके से समझ लेता है तो शायद उसके हाथों से कोई क्राइम नहीं घटता है। अगर वो साइबर क्राइम कैसे होते हैं उसके बारे में अगर वो जानता है तो कई चीज़ों में नहीं फंसेगा। इसीलिए हमारा कैंपस कॉलिंग होता है, बहुत शानदार तरीके से चल रहे हैं। और इसमें हम कैंपेन स्टार सिलेक्ट करते हैं, जो NCW के ब्रांड एम्बेसडर होते हैं। अपने कॉलेज में, अपने कैंपस को बहुत अच्छे तरीके से महिलाओं के बारे में समानता और उसी के साथ साथ उनका सम्मान और अन्य कानून के बारे में वो बात करते हैं। आज कैंपस कॉलिंग बहुत अच्छे तरीके से चल रहा है, कर्तव्य का पालन करने का बहुत प्रयास कर रहे हैं। वैसी ही बात है, हमने एक नया कार्यक्रम तय किया है जिसका नाम है यशोदा AI। यशोदा AI ये आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के बारे में जानकारी देने वाला कार्यक्रम है। हम चाहते हैं कि इस देश की विकसित भारत की जो नारी है वो AI साक्षर नारी बन जाए, जिससे वो बहुत पॉजिटिव उपयोग AI का अपने जीवन में कर सके। और उसी के साथ साथ AI के बारे में, AI के माध्यम से जो बुरी घटनाएं घटती है उसको भी रोकने का पूरा प्रयास करें, ताकि जो साइबर क्राइम्स होते हैं या AI के माध्यम से कोई घटनाएं घटती है उसके चपेट में वो न आए। हम ये भी प्रयास कर रहे हैं कि इसी के माध्यम से हम जो कार्यक्रम कर रहे हैं वो चाहे स्टूडेंट हो, चाहे वो डॉक्टर हो, चाहे वो स्वास्थ्य कर्मी हो, चाहे वो इंजीनियर हो, चाहे वो WCD डिपार्टमेंट हो, चाहे हमारी देश की आशा और आंगनबाड़ी वर्कर्स हो, या चाहे हमारे देश में 11 करोड़ महिलाएं सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप में काम करती है, वो सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप की बहनें हो, इन सभी के लिए हमारा यशोदा AI प्रोग्राम होता है जो इन सभी को AI साक्षर करता है। और उसी के साथ साथ हमारा एक कार्यक्रम है जिसका नाम है शी द चेंज मेकर। हमारी जो चुनी हुई जनप्रतिनिधि है, हम उनको चुनकर तो देते हैं, पर बाद में हम ही लोग कहते हैं कि 5 साल में तो कभी आए नहीं, कभी मुंह नहीं दिखाया, कभी उन्होंने काम नहीं किया। ये नहीं होना चाहिए। इस देश की जो बेटियां हैं, जो आज 50% से भी ज़्यादा पर आरक्षण लेते हुए आज वो काम कर रही है 3 टायर सिस्टम में, उनको बदलाव लाने के लिए उनके गाँवों में, उनके शहरों में, उनके स्कूलों में बदलाव लाने के लिए हमारी चुनी हुई जो जनप्रतिनिधि है, जो सरपंच है, जो हमारी प्रधान है, जो हमारी जिला परिषद के मेंबर्स हैं, उनके लिए हम कार्यक्रम करते हैं। वो कार्यक्रम है शी द चेंज मेकर। और इसी के साथ साथ हम एक कार्यक्रम करते हैं पंचायत से पार्लियामेंट तक, जो हर साल एक बार होता है। हम चाहते हैं कि हमारी जो चुनी हुई जनप्रतिनिधि है, चाहे वो SC क्षेत्र से आती है, ST से आती है, OBC क्षेत्र से आती है या ओपन क्षेत्र से आती है, उन्हीं को लेकर हम दिल्ली आते हैं और हमारे देश के पार्लियामेंट में जो हमारा सेंट्रल हॉल है, इस सेंट्रल हॉल में उनका हम प्रशिक्षण करते हैं। मुझे कहते हुए इतनी खुशी हो रही है कि अभी पिछले साल में हमारी सभी ST क्षेत्र की हमारी चुनी हुई जनप्रतिनिधि आई थी, उनकी समझ बढ़ाने का काम हम कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि आपको पता है कि 2029 में अभी महिला रिजर्वेशन आ रहा है। इस महिला रिजर्वेशन को अगर अच्छे तरीके से हमें सम्मुख जाना है, महिलाओं के लिए बहुत अपॉर्चुनिटी है, पर मैं ये कहूँगी कि केवल महिलाओं के लिए वो अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं है। तो ये समाज को समानता लाने के लिए, महिलाओं की गरिमा रखने के लिए, बराबरी का स्थान देने के लिए, और समाज का अपना कर्तव्य जो कि हमारी आधी आबादी, हमारी घर की आधारशिला है, उसको साथ लेकर, मैं ये नहीं कहूँगी कि उनको आगे बढ़ाने का काम समाज करेगा यानी कि पुरुष करेंगे, मैं ये कहती हूँ कि उनको साथ साथ लेकर चलने का काम हमने सभी ने करना चाहिए। और इसीलिए उस आरक्षण को देखते हुए हमें ये काम करने की बहुत ज़रूरत लग रही है। और अभी NCW गत 2 साल से ये कार्यक्रम कर रहा है, पंचायत से लेके पार्लियामेंट तक, ऐसे अनेक हमारे कार्यक्रम चल रहे हैं। यही कर्तव्य की बात है। अगर इस कर्तव्य को अगर हम नहीं समझते हैं, अगर जिस पद पे हम रहते हैं उसी को समझ के हम आगे नहीं बढ़ते हैं, तो काम कैसे होगा। मुझे खुद को आपको ये भी कहना है कि हम अपने अपने जगह पे बहुत अच्छे हो सकते हैं, बेस्ट हो सकते हैं, इसीलिए हम अपने उस जगह पे हम गए हैं। अगर मैं कमीशन की अध्यक्ष हूँ तो मेरे जगह पे मैं ठीक थी, इसीलिए मैं यहाँ पे आई। आप और कहीं गए तो आप ठीक थे, इसीलिए आप वहाँ पे आए। पर सिर्फ हमारी खुद की बात करते हुए चलना नहीं चलेगा। तो हम जिस जगह पे काम कर रहे हैं उस जगह के सभी लोगों को आगे साथ लेकर आगे बढ़ाने का काम हम सबको करना पड़ेगा। यही हमारा कर्तव्य है। अगर जिस क्षेत्र में हम बैठे हैं, जिस सभागार में बैठे हैं, वो कॉलेज अपने स्टूडेंट्स को अच्छे अवसर नहीं देता है, तो उनका कर्तव्य निर्वहन जो है वो पूरा नहीं होगा। जिस जगह पे मैं बैठी हूँ कमीशन में, अगर वो मेरा काम सब कुछ मैं नहीं करती हूँ तो मेरा कर्तव्य मैं पूरा नहीं कर पाऊंगी। और इतनी अच्छी शानदार बात लक्ष्मी जी ने करी, उन्होंने पुलिस का काम अच्छा नहीं किया तो वो आगे बढ़ नहीं पाऊंगी। ये काम सामूहिक है, सिर्फ अकेले हम आगे बढ़ सकते हैं, पर जिस पद पे हम बैठे हैं वहाँ पे हमारा काम बनता है कि हमारे सभी साथी हैं, उन्हीं को हम अपने राष्ट्रीय कर्तव्यों के लिए साथ लेकर हम आगे बढ़े। जब तक हम वो नहीं कर पाते हैं तब हम अपना कर्तव्य पूरा नहीं करते हैं। इसीलिए हम सबकी ये अवधारणा होनी चाहिए कि हम जिस जगह पे बैठे हैं वहाँ पे बैठे हुए सभी को साथ लेकर हम आगे बढ़े। इसीलिए मुझे आपको ये भी कहना है कि यदि समाज महिलाओं को सम्मान करने के लिए कर्तव्य को आत्मसात नहीं करता है तो कोई भी कानून महिलाओं की रक्षा नहीं कर पाएगा। अनुच्छेद 51 में निहित महिलाओं की गरिमा के विरुद्ध अपमानजनक प्रथाओं का त्याग करने का कर्तव्य एक संवैधानिक अनुस्मारक है कि जेंडर न्याय केवल राज्य की जिम्मेदारी नहीं है, अपितु वह एक साझा नागरिक कर्तव्य है। इस चीज़ों को हम काफ़ी अच्छे तरीके से समझ कर ले। हमारा यह कर्तव्य है, इस युग में अत्यंत प्रासंगिक है कि जब महिलाओं के विरुद्ध हिंसा अक्सर नया रूप धारण कर लेती है, जिसमें ऑनलाइन उत्पीड़न है, बिना सहमति से छवि साझा करना है, कार्यस्थल पे भेदभाव है, आदि अनेक चीज़ें शामिल है। आज हम देखते हैं कि साइंस बहुत आगे बढ़ चुका है, लेकिन जब तक हमारी सामाजिक चेतना इसके साथ नहीं चलती है, जब तक हमारी सामाजिक चेतना जागरूक नहीं होती है, हमें हमेशा एक कठिन लड़ाई लड़नी पड़ेगी। मुझे आपको यह आग्रह भी करना है कि समाज का हिस्सा हमारी आधी आबादी है, वो केवल आधी आबादी नहीं है तो हमारे घर को संभालने वाली, परिवार को ठीक से देखने वाली, और हम जिसको दुर्गा का स्थान देते हैं, जिसको हम लक्ष्मी का स्थान देते हैं, जिसको हमने देवी का स्थान बहुत सोच समझ के दिया है, क्योंकि हमारी घर की जो महिलाएं हैं केवल एक काम एक साथ नहीं करती है, तो सभी कामों को आगे लेकर आगे बढ़ती है। ऐसी हमारी देश को, बेटियों को अगर हम आगे नहीं बढ़ाते हैं तो हमारे कर्तव्यों का पूरा नहीं हो पाएगा, ये भी मुझे लगता है। मैं आपको ये भी कहूँगी कि कानूनों को मजबूत किया जा सकता है, लेकिन असली सुरक्षा तब मिलती है जब हर नागरिक इसी तरह के दुरुपयोग के खिलाफ खड़ा होगा, और हर एक जहाँ जहाँ दुरुपयोग होता है वहाँ वहाँ वो उसके खिलाफ लड़ाई लड़ता है, लोगों को अपने कर्तव्य की जानकारी देता है, उनको उस राह पे चलाता है, तभी हम ठीक से आगे बढ़ेंगे। मुझे लगता है कि ये हमारा सभी का व्यक्तिगत कर्तव्य है जिसको लेकर हमें आगे बढ़ना है। मुझे आप सभी को ये भी कह रहा है कि सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने भी अधिकार और कर्तव्यों के बीच को बार बार रेखांकित किया है। बार बार उन्होंने ये कहा है कि हम सभी नागरिक अपने कर्तव्यों को बहुत अच्छे तरीके से आगे बढ़ते जाए। मुझे आज एक महिला आयोग की अध्यक्ष होने के नाते महिलाओं के बारे में मैं थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा बात करूंगी, पर जेंडर न्याय के लिए विशाखा बनाम राजस्थान जो 1997 का जो उदाहरण दिया जा सकता है, जिसमें सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने कार्यस्थल पर यौन उत्पीड़न के विरुद्ध दिशा निर्देश निर्धारित करते हुए समानता और गरिमा के जो संवैधानिक मूल्य है उसका हवाला दिया था, जिसका पालन करना देश के सभी नागरिक, नियोक्ताओं और संस्थानों का कर्तव्य है। आप देखिए कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट जब जब कुछ कहता है, हस्तक्षेप करता है, तो हमें ऐसे अनेक चीज़ें मिलती है जो हमारे कर्तव्यों का वहन करने के लिए हमें हर बार बताया जाता है, हर बार देखा भी जाता है। मुझे आपको और एक बात आज कहनी है। हम विकसित भारत की बात करते हैं। अगर ये भारत विकसित होना है, सबसे आगे बढ़ना है और विश्व बंधु की हम भूमिका को हमें अदा करना है, तो हमें विकसित भारत के युग में भी अपने कर्तव्य क्या है, इसके लिए भी हमें बहुत ध्यान रखने की बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है। विकास का मापदंड केवल हमारा जीडीपी के आंकड़े या बुनियादी ढांचे की परियोजनाओं से नहीं है, तो इसका मापदंड यही है कि हम अपनी स्वतंत्रता की कितनी जिम्मेदारी से हम उसका प्रयोग करते हैं तथा हाशिए पर पड़े लोगों के साथ कितनी सहानुभूति के साथ हम पेश आते हैं और आने वाली पीढ़ियों के लिए हम कितनी सजगता से इसकी सभी की रक्षा करते हैं, तभी वो विकास अच्छे तरीके से आगे बढ़ सकता है। हम बार बार हमारे देश में अमृतकाल की बात कर रहे हैं। मुझे आज उस अमृतकाल के लिए भी कुछ कहना है कि यह एक ऐसा काल है जो हमारी स्वतंत्रता की शताब्दी तक जाना जाता है। मैं आप सभी के साथ ये जोड़ना चाहती हूँ कि अमृत काल को कर्तव्य काल के रूप में भी हमने देखने की बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है, अर्थात एक ऐसा काल जिसमें नागरिक अपने दैनिक जीवन में संवैधानिक कर्तव्यों की सक्रिय रूप से पालन कर सकते हैं। मैं ये भी कहूँगी कि जब हमने नागरिकों का कर्तव्य की हम बात करते हैं, तब हम बात शासन के कर्तव्यों की भी करते हैं। इसमें शासन का कर्तव्य, इसका अर्थ भी ये है कि पारदर्शिता, जवाबदेही और वो सेवा भी है जो शासन हमारे सभी के लिए लेकर आएगा। समाज में इसका अर्थ सहिष्णुता है, सहानुभूति है, नागरिक अनुशासन है और प्रत्येक व्यक्ति के लिए इसका अर्थ ये है, ऐसे आपने सभी ने इस विकल्प को चुनना है जो हमारे संवैधानिक ताने बाने को मजबूत करे, न कि कमजोर करे। इसका ध्यान हमने सभी ने रखना, ये भी हमारा कर्तव्य का एक हिस्सा हो सकता है। मैं आज के मुझे एक बहुत अच्छा अवसर मिला है कि यहाँ के सभी युवाओं के साथ मैं बात कर रही हूँ। मुझे आज के हमारे सभी युवाओं को एक आह्वान करना है कि यहाँ के उपस्थित सभी हमारे छात्र देश के भावी वकील है, भावी न्यायाधीश है, नीति निर्माता भी है और देश के एक जिम्मेदार नागरिक भी है। आपको न केवल एक संविधान बल्कि एक संवैधानिक संस्कृति भी विरासत में मिल रही है और आपके पीढ़ी के पास भारत को समृद्धि और न्याय के एक नए युग में ले जाने के लिए आवश्यक साधन, जो तकनीक है, जो शिक्षा है, जो वैश्विक अनुभव है, इन सभी को साथ लेकर आपको आगे बढ़ना है। लेकिन इन साधनों के साथ उनका नैतिक रूप में उपयोग करने का कर्तव्य भी जुड़ा हुआ है। हम अपने नैतिक कर्तव्यों की बात नहीं करते हैं। मुझे खुद को ये लगता है सीमा जी कि जब तक हम नैतिक कर्तव्यों का बात नहीं करेंगे तब तक हमारी ये पीढ़ी जिम्मेदार नहीं बन सकती है। सिर्फ कानूनों की बात करके काम नहीं चलेगा, तो कानूनों के साथ साथ हमें जो कानून ने बताया जो नैतिक कर्तव्य है उसको साथ में लेते हुए हमें आगे बढ़ने की बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत भी लगती है। मैं अपने वाणी को मैं पूरा करना चाहती हूँ, पर वो पूरा करने के पहले मैं सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल इनके शब्दों के साथ अपने वाणी को मैं पूरा करूंगी। उन्होंने कहा था कि भारत के प्रत्येक नागरिक को यह याद रखना चाहिए कि वह एक भारतीय है और इस देश में उसके पास सभी अधिकार है, लेकिन वह अधिकार कुछ कर्तव्यों के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं। अधिकार हमें स्वतंत्रता देते हैं, लेकिन कर्तव्य हमें उद्देश्य देते हैं। अधिकार हमें ऊंचा उठने के लिए अनुमति देते हैं, लेकिन कर्तव्य हमें एकजुट रहना सिखाते हैं। आइए हम न केवल अपने अधिकारों का दावा करने के लिए आगे आए, बल्कि अपने संविधान के प्रति तथा एक दूसरे के प्रति और आने वाले पीढ़ियों के प्रति अपने कर्तव्य को निभाने के लिए हम सभी लोग संकल्पित हो जाएंगे। आइए हम केवल यह न पूछें कि हमारा संविधान हमारे लिए क्या करता है, बल्कि हम ये भी पूछें कि हम अपने संविधान के लिए हम क्या करते हैं। मुझे पूर्ण विश्वास है कि जब हम सभी लोग ये तय करेंगे कि हमारे संविधान के लिए हम क्या कर रहे हैं, एक देश का एक भविष्य खुद मैं हूँ और इस देश के भविष्य को मुझे बनाना है। देश के जो सपने हैं उस सपने को मुझे साकार करना है, तो इस सपने को साकार करने के लिए मैं क्या कर सकती हूँ, मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ। क्या हम सभी लोग मिलकर महिलाओं के प्रति जागरूक बन सकते हैं? क्या महिलाओं को हम बराबरी का स्थान दे सकते हैं? क्या हम उनको अनेक अनेक अपॉर्चुनिटीज हम उनको दे सकते हैं? और उसी के साथ साथ एक नागरिक होने के साथ साथ एक ह्यूमन बीइंग के साथ साथ चलते हुए क्या देश में अगर हमारे आसपास कोई बुरी घटना होती है तो क्या उसके प्रति हम सजग रह सकते हैं? जब हम बस में चलते हैं, जब हम ट्रेन में चलते हैं, तो हम देखते हैं कि कितनी बार जेंडर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होता है, कितनी बार महिलाओं की छेड़छाड़ होती है, कितनी बार महिलाओं को तकलीफ होती है, छोटे बच्चों को तकलीफ होती है। अगर हमारी आँख खुले होती है तो हम काफ़ी अच्छे तरीके से उसको देखते हुए हम आगे बढ़ सकते हैं और अपने कर्तव्यों का निर्वहन कर सकते हैं। मैं आज आप सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देती हूँ, गुंजन जी, सीमा जी, कि एक इतना अच्छा अवसर आपने मेरे विचार साझा करने के लिए मुझे आपने दिया है। आपने सभी ने बहुत शांति से मेरी बात सुन ली, इसके लिए आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your valuable insights. It is now my privilege to introduce our next speaker, Honorable Justice V. Ramasubramanian ji, Chairperson, National Human Rights Commission. Sir is one of India's most respected jurists who has delivered landmark judgments throughout his judicial career, including on the 2016 demonetization policy, upholding constitutional principles and social justice. As chairperson of NHRC, he has been a guiding force in strengthening the human rights discourse in India, ensuring that dignity and freedom guaranteed by our constitution remain protected and promoted. Sir, I request you to deliver your address.
Yeah, good afternoon to all of you. In my reply to the farewell given by the Supreme Court Bar Association, I began by saying something which I thought I would repeat today. I said, the last speaker of any function has a very unenviable task cut out for him. And the task is this: by the time the last speaker goes to the podium to speak, either the audience is half dead or the hall is half empty. I think all of you are looking back to see which category this audience falls. We have talked so much about duty. Today morning, my daughter asked me, Papa, what do you expect of the students who will be there to listen to you? I said the duty of the students who assemble there is to listen to me patiently, irrespective of whether I speak sense, nonsense, or trash. Then she asked me, as a speaker, what is your duty? I thought about it and I told her, my duty as a speaker will be to make my speech very short and sweet. I will certainly follow that. I will speak only for 5 minutes and allow you to go for lunch. Dr. Seema Singh says, no, you talk as much as you want, but all of you clapped and welcomed what I said. I will go by what you say and not by what Dr. Seema Singh says. No, that's right. Therefore, I want them to be alive and kicking till the end of my speech. Therefore, I will only say 2-3 things. I know, many of you are hungry. We have a beautiful saying in Tamil, according to which, whenever it is time to feed a hungry stomach, stop feeding the ears. So we'll have to follow that. We have talked so much about duties. We have come to a stage where we think that we have to shift our focus from a rights-based approach to a duty-based approach. This is perhaps the reason why this lecture series is being arranged. Rightly or wrongly, we have accepted the Anglo-Saxon jurisprudence. We have now celebrated 79th Independence Day 2 days ago. We are now celebrating the 75 years of the Constitution. What was this society at the time when we attained independence? And what is this country that is Bharat or India or whatever you would like to call it? India is a very complex society which is not capable of being managed like any other homogeneous society in the world. Fundamentally, we have a population of about 1.4 billion occupying a land mass of 2.4%. We have people who are professing and practicing 8 major religions of the world, apart from people who do not practice any religion. We have people who speak about 22 or 24 official languages, apart from about 1,640 other languages and dialects. We have people who are divided by about 3,800 castes and communities. So this is not a homogeneous society. This is why the Britishers thought that if they left this country, if they granted freedom to this country will run into chaos and confusion. In fact, when the cry for independence gained momentum, and then when it was very clear at the 20th century, beginning of the 20th century, that India will one day attain freedom, a person by name Weldon from Calcutta remarked, he said, the moment the last British soldier left the soil of India, India will become a battlefield of antagonistic racial and religious forces. In 1931, Winston Churchill said that if the British left, then the entire gamut of public services created by them, the judicial, the medical, railway, public works departments, all of them would perish, and India will fall back rapidly through the centuries into barbarism and the privations of Middle Ages. This is what Winston Churchill said in 1931. Yet we attained independence in 1947. India did not break into smaller nations. When India had its first elections in 1950, the British tabloid reported that this will be the first and the last general elections to be held in free India, because they predicted that the country will go into chaos. But after seeing successive governments getting elected to power in a robust democracy, a British journalist by name Don Taylor remarked in 1969, I quote, "When one looks at this vast country with many diversities and conflicting religions, it seems incredible that one nation could ever emerge out of this. It is difficult even to encompass this country in the mind. The great Himalayas, the wide Indo-Gangetic plains burned by the sun and savaged by the fierce monsoon rains, the green flooded delta of the east, the great cities like Calcutta, Bombay and Madras, it does not often seem like one country." Don Taylor said it. "It does not often seem like one country. And yet, there is a resilience about India which seems an assurance of survival. There is something which can only be described as an Indian spirit." I unquote. This is what Don Taylor said. Therefore, the country has survived many doomsday predictions of the West. The reason is that we have inherited a long and cherished system of values. In fact, there was a very interesting episode which seems to have happened in a class, in a school. The teacher asked the students, "What would you like to become?" One student stood up and said, "I want to become a doctor." The other student said, "I want to become a lawyer." Third student said, "I want to become an engineer." Fourth student said, "I want to become an IPS officer." When everyone finished, the teacher asked, "Would anyone like to become a good human being?" There was no response. This is the stage to which we have fallen because we have forgotten our tradition. I will only quote one passage and wind up. As students of law, you know that we have what is called the Kelson's theory of hierarchy of laws. Constitution constitutes the foundation of our system of laws. Then the second tier is the laws enacted by the parliament and the state legislatures. Then the third tier is the rules framed by the governments in exercise of the power conferred by statutes. Then the fourth is the interpretation given by the courts to various laws. So in the Western system of hierarchy of laws, constitution, from the constitution emerge the parliamentary enactments and legislative enactments. From those statutory enactments emerge rules, and from them emerge the interpretation of statutes by courts in the form of judicial precedents. If this is the Western system of hierarchy of laws, what is the system of hierarchy that we had in India? This is where I think you will have to focus if you talk about what is this Kartavyam jurisprudence that people are trying to talk about today. There is an interesting passage in what you now call as the most controversial Smriti called Manusmriti. This Smriti says, we have also had a hierarchy of laws. What is this hierarchy of laws? Veda Akila Moolam Dharma Shastram Smriti Shilesha Tadvitam Acharyas Chaiva Sadhunam Atmanas Tushtirevacha. What does that mean? Veda Akila Moolam Dharma Shastram. Like the constitution that we have today, Vedas constitute the foundation in the hierarchy. That is the first tier. Smriti Shilecha Tadvitam. The second tier are the Smritis. Then thereafter comes Acharas Chaiva Sadhunam, the conduct of noble and learned men. Look at the wordings used. It said conduct of learned and noble men. It did not say the conduct of learned men, because many times the conduct of learned men are condemnable. You must be both learned and noble. So, Acharas Chaiva Sadhunam Atmanas Tushtirevacha. The fourth one is the most interesting one. Look at it like this. The foundation is the Vedas. Then comes the Smritis, namely the Dharmashastras. Third comes the conduct of noble and learned people. The fourth hierarchy of laws is Atmanas Tushtirevasya. Ask your own conscience. A person's own conscience is the fourth tier of law according to our system of hierarchy of laws. This is because our elders believed that you may have many conflicts in life, but those conflicts for which you do not find a place in the system of laws, you will be able to find from your own conscience. So what happened was, these Smritis, the Vedas, were interpreted by 18 rishis. These rishis were called Manu, Parashara, Yajnavalkya, so on and so forth. These 18 rishis authored various Smritis, and those Smritis became, if the Smriti authored by Manu became Manusmriti, the Smriti authored by Yajnavalkya became Yajnavalkya Smriti, the Smriti authored by Vasishta became Vasishta Smriti. So 18 Smritis came into existence, and they all contain different propositions of law depending upon the need of the times at which they were created. That there were 18 Smritis is a recognition of the fact that law cannot be static. After the Smritis, what our ancestors did was, they created a whole body of mythology in the form of Puranas and Itihasas. Why did they create these Puranas and Itihasas? This is because when you study law in a law school, in a campus law center, your understanding of law is very limited. But when you start practicing and appearing in court, when somebody comes to you with a problem, when you start looking at the law books, you find that the case does not fit into a straitjacket formula within the four corners of law. Then how do you resolve this conflict? Therefore, our ancestors imagined stories. Those stories were weaved into Puranas. These Puranas applied the law to real life situations to resolve conflicts. How did they do it? I will only tell you a very short story and wind up. I do not know how many of you have heard about a great emperor called Sibi Chakravarti. That Sibi Chakravarti, when he was in the garden one day, he saw a pigeon chased by a hawk. The pigeon comes and surrenders at the feet of this king. The king grants refuge to the pigeon. Then the hawk comes and demands the king, "O king, you think as a king you owe a duty of compassion to the pigeon, therefore you are granting the pigeon the refuge. But you must know that I live, my only source of food is this pigeon or any other life creature. If today you deprive me of my food, you would have saved the pigeon of its life, but you would have allowed me to die of starvation. Would you choose to show compassion to one creature and deprive compassion to another creature?" Now, Sibi faces a huge conflict when the rights of two people conflict with the duty to be performed by Sibi. How would you resolve this? This story is created in a Purana to drive home to the students of law the point as to how you resolve a conflict when there is a conflict between two sets of laws or when there is a conflict between two sets of duties. I have not told you what Sibi did it. I am in half a mind to tell you, or I would like to leave it to you to go and do your Google search and find out. Because Google today is the greatest of all teachers than the teachers who come and teach you, correct? That is why in the modern days, we have a different type of CPC. When we studied law, we had Civil Procedure Code was the CPC. Today, we had the cut, paste, copy code. That is the modern CPC. So, anyway, I will tell you what Sibi did. Sibi said, my duty is, as a king, my duty is to show compassion to both of you. I will not allow this pigeon to die at your hands. I will not allow you to die because of starvation. Therefore, I offer my body, my flesh to you to eat so that you don't die. I will die. I may die or I may not die. So he started offering his own flesh from out of his thigh. So Puranas were created as a whole body of legal literature to drive home that there are procedures for resolving conflicts in law. And that's how we had a huge body of legal material available, all of which we have forgotten for a long time. And that, I think, is the purpose of this, this lecture series, to remind us of all this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we conclude this session, we welcome questions from the participants. If anyone has any questions, they may kindly raise their hand, and we request the questions to be limited to today's topic.
Good afternoon, all of you. My question is from Subramaniam, sir. Sir, a team from Legal Aid Society of this college visited NHRC a few months back. There, a question asked from a special officer holding DSP rank about sexual harassment of male prisoner, which often come to news or we heard in the societies. He replied that these things generally do not happen, and if it happen, then jail administration are very well capable to handle it all. So, sir, do you also agree with him? And if not, then how your commission will tackle with these problems if such an offense come to your news, sir?
No, I don't agree with him. If somebody from the NHRC has said it, I think I should note down his name, because he must be first educated before we try to educate all of you. I don't agree with him. He is wrong. There is a system in place everywhere. If that system does not work, the victims can come to NHRC and we will provide relief. The relief that we will provide is, we will recommend action to be taken against the perpetrator of the crime. We will also award a compensation to the victim of crime. These are the two steps that we will take. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for this entire panelist for their wonderful insights and the lecture. And thank you, Seema ma'am, because it's almost a privilege for all of us to listen to this lecture series in person after so many online lectures, right? My question, like Seema ma'am and all the panelists have very categorically defined the objective or the purpose of this Kartavyam lecture series, like contesting the present right-based jurisprudence and replacing it with an alternate duties-based order. Ma'am, Lakshmi ma'am has very categorically mentioned, quoted Rousseau. Ma'am, if I remember, the most repeated quote of Rousseau is, "Man is born free, but everywhere in chains." And the chains are nothing but these are the very vaguely defined the moral duties that encompassed within the patriarchal society. And I just want to ask whether, like Lakshmi ma'am has quoted Rousseau and Vijaya ma'am has quoted Ambedkar. Ambedkar has also, when the entire debate in the Constituent Assembly was taking place between rights and duty, so it was tried to establish a cordial synchronized relation in between them rather than challenging the right and establishing a duties-based order. And it resulted into, because they believe that these duties-based order will create a system of Indian society divided into caste and various distinction at various levels. Thank you. Ma'am, would like your comment and opinion, particularly Lakshmi Singh ma'am, on whether how a synchronization would be established between rights and duties, because duties are very vaguely defined. They are not very clearly defined and very enforceable in nature.
I beg to differ over here. Duties in Indian Constitution are very stringently and very diversely defined in a very concrete way. The only thing is they are not enforced by law. They are left to the conscience of a citizen to adhere to them and make them a part of their daily life. Rousseau said, man is born free but is in chains everywhere. Now my question to you is, I'm just trying to explain. आप सुबह कॉलेज कैसे आए? By bus, by auto, by rickshaw, by e-rickshaw, on walk? How do you?
By Rapido taxi.
By Rapido taxi. That's a new one. Good one. So when you came to the college coming through a Rapido taxi and someone who came through their own conveyance, did you feel that you were in chains sitting in that Rapido taxi? So what do you define by chains? Does what is expected of you as a human being, does that constitute as being in chain? Do you know if an eagle soars to this horizon, soars and reaches up? You have heard the story of Icarus. If you haven't, you go and read about it. If you are flying towards the sun and if you fall down, do you think you are in chain? I think the success is that you had the courage to fly towards the sun. So what is essentially mandated of you as a human being should never be perceived as being in chains. Our constitution, as Sir rightly pointed out, the traditions of Indian thought, Indian schools of thought, have always pertained a certain leveled and tiered expectations of a human being, like the Maslow's hierarchy of social need. And they always left the complex equations, questions, and queries to the realm of human mind. Because they perceived that no matter what we write down into our smritis and what we write down into our traditions, the human mind will always find a better and newer option and solution. So if you don't stop exerting your human mind, you will perceive that yes, we are in chains. So what did Cicero or Rousseau said by being in chains was that what was expected from a society to be of progressive in nature was seeped into lethargy, debauchery, and making the free will, the so-called free will, the guiding epitome of a human life. Cicero meant we are in chain, yes, because we are subscribing to one standard way of living. Rousseau said, yes, we are in chain because we are subscribing to what has been the moral compass of a dark age European nations. So, Rousseau's mark of word, man being in chain, brought about enlightenment in the entire European continent. We were already enlightened before Christ. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, one thing which I see, I'll ask you something. You want to become a lawyer, correct? Okay. Are you now bound by some chain? What is that chain?
The Constitution.
No. As a student of law,
The rules of the institutions.
not even the rules, forget about it. You have to write an examination, you have to pass it. Is that not a chain? Actually, you will have to look at it in a very larger man is born free, correct. The moment you develop desires, goals in life, you want to become a successful lawyer. Do you know successful lawyers in Supreme Court, they give appointments at 11:30, 12:30, 2 o'clock, early morning, midnight. So are they bound by their chains or not? Look at a mendicant, a sannyasi. He is absolutely free. He can go wherever he wants. He doesn't care about food, doesn't care about shelter, doesn't care about clothes. He can go anywhere he wants. He is the only man free. The moment you set a goal for yourself, you are chained, correct? How do you escape? All of us will have to become sannyasis to escape not being chained, correct?
Thank you, sir.
Due to time crunch, we can have only one last question.
Myself, Maithili Pathak. I'm first year law student here. And first of all, I would like to thank all the panelists and also the guest speaker for delivering such an engaging session. All I could grasp while listening to the lectures was that the guest speakers were very articulate. They had very good level of clarity in their thoughts and they were very crisp. So we as a law student, how can we learn that and we imbibe that quality like for our future ahead and also as a good citizen and youth of India? So if you guys have some recommendation.
I will give you the perspective from the police side and sir will guide you how to be a great lawyer. We are always, on the two sides of a table. In a courtroom, we are always on the two sides of a table. So as a lawyer, you have to be articulate. The more you speak, the better you are. And you have to have that capacity to think on your feet because you will also have to know about human psychology. What is the ambience in this room? Are the fans working well? Is the judge comfortable? And what is the prosecution lawyer thinking about? पुलिस वालों से तो कोई पूछता ही नहीं है how to be articulate. ठीक है? We are only considered to be a silent spectator. But believe in yourself. Have confidence in yourself. The more you read, the more clarity you will have about your own thought processes. And never hesitate. कभी कभी बहुत छोटी सी चीज़ आपको winning point देती है. ठीक है? And how to become a great lawyer, sir will guide you.
No, actually, you would like to know how to...
Be confident.
No, how to be articulate, correct?
How to be like that, how to achieve that level of articulation along with caring,
See,
the humbleness in the
There are three things. One is, today the problem with youngsters is, we read a lot. Then the quantity of material that we read is far greater than the quantity of material that our previous generations read. The difference is, our previous generations digested and assimilated 90% of what they read. Today, we suffer from indigestion of information, indigestion of knowledge, indigestion of thoughts. So, how much you read is not important. How much you understand, how much you assimilate is more important to become articulate. Somebody said very interestingly, if something could be understood without great effort should have gone into its making. I can make you understand the highest philosophy in one sentence if I have assimilated it. If I have just read it, I will simply repeat whatever they said without my understanding. So if you want to be a good lawyer, how much of law you understand, assimilate, how much you are capable of handling men and matters, that is more important.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir, for wonderfully addressing the questions. As we come to the conclusion of this enlightening session, I take the privilege of inviting Professor Dr. Raman Mittal, sir, a renowned academician and guiding force, to deliver the vote of thanks and express our collective gratitude.
Honorable Justice V. Rama Subramaniam, Srimati Vijaya Kishore Ratnakarji, Ms. Lakshmi Singh ji, Professor Gunjan Gupta, our professor in charge, Dr. Seema Singh, my colleagues and very dear students, it's a proud privilege for me to deliver this vote of thanks. Justice Rama Subramaniam said many words of wisdom in his short and crisp address. When he stood up to speak, he said, well, the predicament of the last speaker, the audience is either half dead or the hall is half empty or half full, whatever you want to say. So I was immediately reminded of an instance from the life long back, gone by. When I was a student and used to live in a hostel, a boy had to go on a date. Dates were not all that frequent in those days, fortunately or unfortunately, but then we were all very curious. He went, spruced himself, dressed nicely, went there, and we all waited for him to come, and when he came, everybody was after him. Kya raha? Kahan tak pahunche? He said 50-50. मैंने कहा अरे 50-50 जरा तनिक ध्यान थोड़ा विस्तार से समझाइए क्या 50-50. अब वो थोड़ा नशे में भी था, उसने कहा 50-50 कुछ भी पूछो 50-50. उसके बाद सो गया. अगले क्यूरियोसिटी रिमेन्ड फॉर द होल नाइट. इन द मॉर्निंग वी जॉसल हिम, क्या 50-50 लगा रखा है. वो कहता मैं तो पहुंचा पर वो ना पहुंची. सो जीवन में 50-50 से कुछ होगा ही नहीं. द मैसेज दैट वी गेट फ्रॉम द एरुडाइट एड्रेस and all the addresses is that we have to be sincere and do everything 100%. The dignitaries which are invited to speak and address you students are working in the area of human rights from different perspectives. From the perspective of Human Rights Commission, a commission for women, and then from the perspective of the police. As was stated, ours is a very diverse country with varying interests. And in the beginning, or even before independence, people had cited doubts whether we will survive as a democracy or not. The problems are very many, and the solutions are not in light. I am reminded of a small story, and that story I will dedicate to the excellent discourse by all the speakers today. There was a teacher who goes to a classroom with a few cardboard pieces in his hand. And he spreads those pieces on the table. And those were pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, which we have all solved many kinds of. And he said, well, these pieces are the pieces of the world, the map of the world. Is there anybody who can come and solve it within a limited time? Who can put together the pieces in the rightful order? Well, one person tried. No, he failed. It's so complex. Countries, boundaries, people, this and that, geographies. The other tried, was confident, but he failed too. The third one tried, and he tried a bit, but then not successful. Then a person sitting on the back, a boy, a naughty boy like Shantanu, he rose his hand and he said, well, may I try? He goes up and he reverses the pieces on the back side, and then he arranged it very easily. How? How the map, the complex map of the world was arranged? Because on the back side was the key. On the back side was the face of a man. If you take care of man, the singular entity of human, we solve all the problems. And we have to be careful about the rights as well as duties of each man. Bereft of that, there is no possibility of seeing light at the end of the tunnel. I once again thank all the speakers and the audience. Thank you so much.
We have come to the closing of the proceedings. Before we join together for singing our national anthem, I request the audience to wait for our guests to leave first and not to disperse before that. Now let's all stand up for our national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, with this we conclude Kartavyam Lecture 11. On behalf of Campus Law Center, I extend heartfelt thanks to our distinguished speaker, knowledge partner, faculty members, and all the participants. Your presence has truly made this session meaningful and memorable. We look forward to welcoming you again in the upcoming lecture of this series. Thank you and have a wonderful day ahead.